All right, so now we've got our iPad, and I'm going to show you that the iPad close up. And when you turn it on, I always do 1, 2, 3, 4 for the sound team, so they're not having to look for it. And I also put the password up here. If you're going to get jacked, you're going to get jacked. This is probably a really simple way so nobody forgets, okay? And on the back here, I've got the iPad, so I can either set the iPad in my hand and walk around with it, which is really nice, or I've got a little kickstand that when I go back to my desk, I can just have it right there. It's really a nice case for it. And it's for the full-size iPad, and I believe it's the 9.7, not the iPad Pro. And it is on Amazon. It's called New Tech. I'm sorry, it's called New Trent. Okay, so now what do we got to do? First thing I would do with the iPad is you don't want to assume you're on the network of the AP. Okay, so you want to go here to settings and you want to press Wi-Fi. Now you can see the Wi-Fi setting. It's there. It says AP stage 2.4. So now you're connected to the AP, which is connected to the touchscreen, and it's got its own little network, which means that you don't have any internet on this. You're just connected together. If you put internet on this, you will complicate it, and people will probably get mad because it'll drop out or they won't be able to connect, and it'll just really be confusing. So now I'm going to change the screens. I've got the QSC download, and you'll see it loads, and then it says you are connected to the Touchmix. Have access to all settings. I say okay. One of the giveaways is that this is green. If it's red, it'll say disconnected. So now I'm going to walk you through some of the simple parts. When you first get this, always take all of your channels and mute them. It says 16 channels, so there's 1 through 8, and this is 9 through 16. Okay, just mute them all, and then when you're ready, you can turn them on one by one. We're just going to talk about the main setup and the auxiliary monitor that is sitting on the stage, because people want to hear the music that they're singing or playing, and that's really important. So we're going to go back to inputs 1 and 2. Anytime you have a question with the touchscreen, just hit the menu and then home, okay? And a lot of times just hitting the home will get you there just fine. I am myself a noob at this. I'm trying to get accustomed to it, but I've found my way around pretty well. We have a guy named DJ that's on here that has just totally grasped this and done a great job. So anyway, so what you want to do is you're going to do, these are all of our microphones, and this is a guitar. But one of the things with the Touchmix is the 1 through 8 do not have a 1/4-inch plug, and most people have guitars with a 1/4-inch plug. So you're going to have to go through 9 through 16. And 9 through 16, I just picked 16. And I noticed I labeled it 16 1/4. How do you label those things? I will show you right now. So you pick any of the top areas, and you just click that, and then you go to Setup, and in Setup, you click the name. See, it says Input 15. So you can either leave it at that and add, because then you want to know whatever name it is, whatever input is at a glance, so you can compare it with whatever you're trying to match up. So I will just put drums. Okay, so it says in 15 drums, and I hit go, and I'm done. Now I can just move around. There's no save button or anything like that. Okay, and I'll go back and you'll see it. Now I'm going to go back to the home button, because now it takes me back, and look, it's labeled drums. Okay, so that's pretty good. So now what you're going to want to do to start is just make sure that all of your microphones and everything in 1 through 16 work one by one. This is your main, left and right. You've got everything muted, so you're not going to have a problem, but if you want to, you can hit mute of the whole thing, but it asks you, do you really want to do that? And you say yes. Okay, when you undo it, it says you really want to unmute it. So that's one thing. Don't worry about that question that it asks you. Now everything's muted, so you will plug in whatever you want. Box 1, 2, and 3, that's what we call them. And I named one of them here because we actually have a scene, which is the memory of all of this memorized all together. And if you go to the scene in the upper right hand corner, you can see that this is called RLB main. That's everybody gets that until we set up their music. And once their music is set up, then we can do on RLB main, we can do a save as, and we can rename it there and save it. You can both save it to the Touchmix, or you can save it to a USB. It's really nice for that. So if you're not sure where you are, find the main and do a recall. It says, you sure you want to do that? And go, yeah, I'm going to recall everything so it's all standard. Okay. Now if I do that, this is one where I saved one and I copied these two together because I really like that setup. So what I'll be doing is saving one of the main ones as another name. So when every band member comes, you can just save it and save it like all their settings and everything. They're going to come in fairly the same. The levels, everything are going to be very similar. So that's really a nice feature. Now how to get out of here? Just hit home. Okay. Now the one area that you're going to have a little bit of challenge with, I believe, is the aux. And the aux settings are right here. Remember, we've got home, so it says this is the main mix, and then we're going to go to aux settings. Okay, these are all the settings for, we've got a stream, we've got the zoom, we've also got the monitor. The monitor is the one I want to set the settings on so they can hear themselves. I believe for that you click, remember we've got the monitor. If you click right here, and this is the important part, right there on this side, not over there, this side. Now this side gives you the mix for that. So if you need a little bit more vocal, 1 and 2 or 3 in the monitor, then you can turn it up here and you've also got a main. And then once they're happy with that, then you can just stop and you're good. You can hit the home button. But one of the things I want to make sure that you see is the mutes. Okay, if you see that red mutes, that means you did it. If you see the yellow mutes, that means it's muted. I'm going to go back to the mains on the main. Okay, now I'm going to go back and show you again the auxes and how those are set up. So remember we were back there, and remember these two here, they don't show anything. That's because in the main, I'm going to go back to the main, they aren't off. If I turn them back on, and then I go home, and I go back to my aux mix, and I go to the monitor, now you see they're all yellow. Okay, does that make sense? I hope that does. That's really an important feature that you need to look at to make sure that you can mix to the mains. And that's pretty much it. There's nothing more that you really need to know at this point. You're just adjusting 1 and 2, or 1 through 8 and 9 through 16. There is another one that's stereo mix. If you're going to have music, that's the one. That's the inputs on the upper right hand corner of the box, and I will show you that. And I've made up a cable that actually makes it real easy for iPads and iPhones to be connected. So that's it for the iPad, and that's it for the Touchmix. I'm going to show you a few of the controls just so you'll know what they do and what they mean. All right, sorry for the sloppiness of moving, but now we've got this area, which is the inputs, okay? And I've selected 17 and 18 for an input for, and I call it a pad, iPad or a pad. And I've got this really nice cable that has a 1/4 inch that has a 1/4 inch, and then I've taken the 1/4 inch it has to a 3.5, and I made this a 3.5 on purpose, so I've added a little hook on there with a wire tie so it doesn't go anywhere. So this can either be plugged into an iPad or an iPhone, an older iPhone, or any type of 3.5 surface side that you want. This goes in here, and again, that's controlled with the controls of the iPad. Oh, I hate this. That's controlled with the iPad on the stereo input. Okay, and there's 17 and 18, and that's what you're going to control. I have it muted. You can unmute it and you're good. I'll make a better one later on, but this is all I got. Sorry for the backlighting, but I think that you're going to do fine.